Check, 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 check.
Check, check, 1, 2. Check, check, 1, 2. Check, check, 1, 2. It's on. Volume's all the way up. Hello. Check, check. Yeah. You can use the same mic.
Okay, I'll just use that. Hello, hello, hello. Check, check. And technical difficulties are awkward. Hey! How's everybody doing? I mean, every time I do this, I have to ask for another one. Seriously, come on, guys, you're at Comic-Con for crying out loud. How you doing? See? And you all feel better for giving that extra effort right now, don't you? It pumps everybody up. Hey, so I'm Zachary Levi. Thank you so much for being here at the Nerd HQ. I hope you guys are enjoying your time. I've seen a lot of familiar faces. I know you guys have been at other panels, and I can't thank you enough. Because as you know, every penny goes to Operation Smile. Every penny is going to helping a child around the world fix their cleft lip or palate or other oral surgeries that go on. So it means the world to us. I am so proud to be able to say on many levels that a friend of mine is going to be coming up here on stage, as you well know, to talk to you about something that's really cool and really awesome that she's been working on. And it was a logistical dance that we had to do because she is crazy busy at Comic-Con. But Felicia Day is here in the house right there. Felicia, please come up. The queen of the nerds here to talk to you about Dragon Age Redemption, Felicia Day.
Thanks, you guys. There's a towel here in case I wet myself. So thank you for putting that there. I mean, he knows me so well. Thank you all for being here. This is just an awesome project and place that Zach has put together. And Operation Smile is an amazing charity. Actually, my father was in the military, and he used to do missions to Central America because people don't know this very well, but the military actually does comparable missions to practice in the field, and they do cleft palates and various revisions. And I went down with him a couple years in a row and did a little documentary on what they do. And so it means a lot to go to these communities and help them literally have a different life just with a small surgery that we take for granted here. So it's very cool. So thank you for doing that. It's awesome.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah. So I had a panel this morning at 11, and I showed a Dragon Age Redemption trailer. And this is not going to be online anywhere for quite a while. So, and it just was an awesome opportunity to be able to show it again to people who might. Was anybody there this morning? Oh, why are you here? All right. Well, you get to see it again. This morning we had a little snafu where it was black and white for a bit, and I had a heart attack. But then we showed it good. It turned out good, right, guys? Yeah. So I'm going to show that to you. Now, I would just ask you. From my heart, I had to beg to be able to put a trailer together because it's not going to be out for a little while. So please don't film it and put it on the internet and ruin my life. And then they're going to turn the live feed off or maybe just look awkwardly at my face while we play it. But I would like to play it, and then we can open up to questions and talk about whatever you want, Dragon Age or just life. I mean, I could talk about baked goods. I could talk about, maybe you. Let's talk about you. So let's play it, and then we'll get our Q&A going on, all right? So can we lower whatever light we have? Oh, it's ambient. No touching. And let's roll it.
Struggle is an illusion. The tide rises, the tide falls. There is nothing to struggle against.
Tell me, do you have to flirt all the time?
I don't have to. Victory is in the queue.
18 months of my life. And just before we get into Q&A, I'd like to, we actually have some crew and some cast, some very key people who were involved in this project. And I'm going to be talking about it more. Probably you're going to want to unfollow me on Twitter because I'll probably be talking about it so much. But don't do that. And we have some people here who were in this. So Jeannie and Brian, Jeannie was my intern. She was abused a lot during this whole thing. Brian is he runs the Guild Twitter account, and you might know him online. Marcia is here, who is also an actress. You might notice her. She's where? Oh, here she is. Marcia. I'm not going to tell you anything about her character. And the director, who brought a lot of elements together to make this look, movie quality. Peter Winther, right here. So. It took a huge crew, 6 months of post-production work. It's much different from the Guild, but I have to say that through the labor of giving birth to this thing, I've learned so much and been able to work with amazing people from the Guild that I took, and then some from the movie and TV world from Peter's end. So it was a true collaboration. So I'm just gonna. You guys know what to ask me. I mean, you'll know what you want to know, right? I should stop talking now. Anybody? Oh, yes, and music, yes, I'm sorry. A little bit of music piece, and Jason over here. Piece is the composer, Jason, music editor, and he literally made the best score I've ever heard in my life. I mean, BioWare was like, hey, we love this music, we want to use it more. And I was like, well, Piece, who's 22 years old, whatever. What a jerk. Anyway, he's brilliant, so thank you guys for being here, too. I'm sorry I didn't see you over there. I don't have my glasses on, so it's a long story. Anybody have a question? Yes, this gentleman right here. There's microphones that will be passed around. Oh, it's not on. Hey, guys.
Okay, there we go.
Hey.
Do you do your own stunts in the trailer?
Yes, I did a lot of stunts. You'll see that I'm skinnier than I'll ever be again. So, and more muscles. I got weird muscles in weird places. Like in the back, there was something there. Whatever, I'm not going to distract you. But yes, I did not do all my own stunts. I did have a stunt double. But as far as all the dagger work, I, in November, started training, and I worked out. I mean, listen, guys, I'm not in good shape. And you will go to one of these aerobics classes at your gym, which I went to the dorky step classes. And I was like, oh, look at the old ladies. And those old ladies were stepping over me. These women are in shape. I was like, I am in gamer shape now, so I better get this going on. So I did that for a month, and then I started working out with stunt guys. I don't know, do any of you watch the Guild season 2 and remember the stunt guy character? Okay, so Fernie works with Real Stunts, which is an amazing stunt team, and they were like, oh, I'm gonna train you. And I was like, oh, great, I've been working out for a month at the gym. Holy crap, guys. Stunt guys are in really good condition. So I was in the park, like we were working with swords and daggers and all sorts of, and I had Tom Williams was the stunt coordinator, and he started working with me. He did some stuff on the Guild, actually, and he came in and brought some amazing stunt people together, and I would just hit the bag, and he was like, you look like a wuss, okay? Don't look like a stupid wuss. And that was a motivation for me, because I didn't want to look wussy. So I hit the bag. I bought a bag. It's still in my house, unused from 6 months ago. But I have it in case I want to work out again, which will never happen. But some of the more like falling and some of the more impact things that were a little bit more dangerous, because during the fight rehearsals, one of the actors actually hit me in the lip the week before we started shooting. So I have kind of people are like, "Did you get lip implants?" And I'm like, "No, I got hit in the face with a sword. I promise." Anyway, so yeah, I did a lot of them. So it was important to me to just be comfortable with them. And listen, I would love to slice into a human body one day. Not really, I mean, not like a live human body, maybe a cadaver. Come on, you can't say you wouldn't want to do that. No? Okay. We have a question over here from the lovely redhead.
Oh, look, Mike. Yay, that's
I would
exciting.
never kill anybody. I just want to make that clear.
Yeah, killing is bad. First off, unrelated, you're adorable.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Question, what is your most interesting random convention story?
I don't know if you guys follow my Twitter, but did you just see what I tweeted earlier? A man came up to me with a really attractive girlfriend, okay? Like, they were just like You're laughing already because you know what's going on. And he came up, and these are cool-looking people. Like, they have tattoos. And he was like, I need you to sign my calf. And I'm like, okay, cool. Comes back 2 hours later. He had gotten a tattoo over my signature on his calf. Like, for realsy. Now, this had happened once before. I would like to say, and his girlfriend totally cool with it. She's like, only you and Tina Fey could sign his calf. And I'm like, well, I'm in good company. So anyway, this has happened once before, so it wasn't that big a thrill, and I have to tell you the story because it's true, and you can actually, I think I have a picture of it on my Tumblr. So a dude came up to me at Emerald City Con, and it was like, hey, I need you to sign my shoulder. And I was like, okay, why? He's like, I'm going to get a tattoo over it. And I argued with him for about 7.5 minutes, and I was like, the line is holding up, okay. He was like, well, my friends are going to pay me $500 because they said I wouldn't do it. And I was like, and he's like, I need the money. And I was like, well, you paid $20 for me to sign your shirt. I feel like sign your shoulder. I should just do this. And he will never come back. So I signed it. He comes back the next day, shows me the tattoo. I was like, you're crazy, dude. He's like, I'm $500 richer. Next day, Monday, I get a tweet. My friends didn't pay up. True story. So I feel bad for that guy. At least the tattoo guy, the artist, tattoo artist today knew he was getting into. He's a tattoo artist. But, like, this poor other dude, he didn't seem capable of distinguishing whether he was being pranked or not. I did it a little more floral, so maybe you can make it a tulip. I don't know. Poor dude. Anyway, that's a good story. Thank you. You're welcome.
Can I ask about your role in Eureka?
Yes, you can. I don't know. Did anybody see the episode on Monday? Yeah, a couple people? Yay. Yeah.
I'm afraid I haven't seen it because I don't live here. But the question is whether you're likely to hop over to Warehouse 13.
Oh, is that a rumor? Did you just make it up? It would be a good rumor.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know about that, but I can tell you that I have been working on Eureka literally since Comic-Con of last year. I flew out like a couple days after Comic-Con of last year when I announced that I was going to be on the show, and I started filming, and I literally haven't stopped filming since I was filming on Monday, and then I flew out from Vancouver Tuesday and then got here Tuesday night to San Diego, and I'm going back on Monday. So what's cool about this is that, usually actors, it's a very depressing job, acting in Hollywood, because it's very up and down. You're either working a lot or you're not working. And when you audition, it's very difficult to get jobs. And there are a lot of reasons why you don't get jobs. And most of them don't have to do with you. But after a while, you kind of like take it on yourself and you get depressed. And then you eat a lot of food or maybe play a lot of Warcraft. And then, yeah, well, that's what you should do with your time. But the cool thing is that Eureka happened because I do the hard work that I do. I created roles for myself, and Amy Berg, the writer of that episode and one of the producers, and Jamie Pollia, the showrunner, they were familiar with what I did on the web, and they just called me up and were like, we want to have a meeting with you because we're writing a role for you, and we just want to hear how your voice sounds. So I was like, are you kidding? It's literally the biggest compliment of my life to have a role written for me for my voice that they thought that I would be funny in. And I fit really well, I feel like I fit really well within their sort of comedic and dramatic and geekish tone. So like I did 7 episodes this season, and I'm doing a ton more for the next season that'll be out next year. And she's just a really smart girl, and she's really high energy and neurotic and introverted, but she makes friends with everybody and becomes part of the family, which is like the biggest thrill of my life. So I hope you guys enjoy her, and there are many, many cool things to come. I think they're actually having a screening of the second episode that I'm in tomorrow night at Comic-Con at like 8 or 9 or something like that. And that also has Will Wheaton in it. So Will Wheaton and I will be in it. So it's pretty funny. That's a man right there.
Test. Hi. I don't want to give anything away for anybody that hadn't watched it, but is there going to be any more Dr. Horrible?
I get that a lot. And then there's always the next day, Felicia updates on Dr. Horrible. And I'm like, I didn't say anything. So don't do that. I can only say that I know that Joss is busy with this dumb thing called The Avengers. I mean, it's taking up all his time. It's only the biggest movie ever made, and he keeps making it. I know that they're fully intent on making follow-up. I mean, the universe is so rich. I know that I have it on first-hand authority. I'm sure you've read it in the blogs, but I can't give you any updates or anything about it because I don't know any updates. But I'm sure once Avengers is finished, I feel like it will probably be on the plate. But and I could only hope that I would be in another one. So cross fingers. Don't blog that as Felicia Day updates on Dr. Horrible. Really. I'm always so irritated about it. I'm like, there's no news there. Over here. Do we have a mic?
Hi, how are you?
Hi.
I wanted to ask you, what motivates you when you get down, when you're writing? What keeps you writing? What keeps you doing what you're doing?
Usually neurosis.
Okay.
That I cry. And then I write, and then no. I mean, really, I don't know why, because it's kind of a torture process until this season, like Guild Season 5, which premieres on Tuesday on Xbox and MSN. Yes. Yeah, thank you. I have to say that Guild Season 5 is going to blow your faces off. It really will. We have some crazy stuff happening that has never happened. I mean, the Guild is essentially going to a fan convention, and that's all I'm going to give away. But we have a million guest stars and some amazing story arcs and some really funny things that are happening this season that I'm so excited. I actually wanted to write Season 5 instead of Season 4 because I was like, I got to go to the convention. But I felt like it would be better to do another arc, and Season 4 turned out fantastic. But Season 4 was horrible for me to write because I had writer's block. And I know a lot of us who are creators, who are artists, I think that somehow we think that we need to give birth to something that's fully formed onto the page or onto the screen or onto the stage. And I had that kind of perfectionism and paranoia, and it basically stopped me at every single point, this kind of voice in my head that it's not good enough and don't even try because it's not going to be good enough. And the thing that I have worked through in the last several years is the fundamental idea that it will never be perfect. And in fact, it's you have to layer. Creating is layering. So, better to just jump in and really be brave to be awful at first. And then you have something to work with because you can have a critical eye to refine that versus thinking you have to give birth to Mona Lisa instantly. It's not realistic. It's not how anybody works at all. Now, sometimes you'll have a happy accident where you'll write something like Guild Season 5 I wrote in 7 days. And most people would be like, well, I write everything in 7 days. And I'm like, no, Guild Season 4 took 4 months for me to write. And I literally almost quit everything because it was so hard for me to come up with storylines and come up with, other things. And I think that we block ourselves and we look at other people and what they've achieved and think, well, it's not as good as that. I'm not even going to try. But you do a disservice to what you are because everybody's an artist and everybody has a voice that should be heard in whatever form, however big or small. And your uniqueness needs to be expressed. And don't hold yourself back because you're comparing yourself to other people. And I feel like that's really important for everybody to learn. So hopefully. Awkward.
Is it on? You mentioned Will Wheaton, and the listeners at trekradio.net want to know, when are you going to space? Because they are big fans, Felicia Day fans.
When am I going to what?
Do anything Star Trek or space related, because they want to see more Felicia.
Oh, I would love to be in space. Send me now. I would love to be on a spaceship. I will wear whatever makeup. I would love to do that. I don't really audition as an actor as much as I like because I'm so busy. So basically, I've literally been working nonstop since last Comic-Con. But when my agents call me and they're interested, I just basically told them I don't really want to do anything unless it's something that I know that my fans are going to like, and that's usually going to be genre stuff. So I had the opportunity to do half-hour sitcoms or something, and it really just wasn't the right thing for me because I'm like, well, I've worked so hard and I have such a community around that I just love making stuff for you guys. So I'm like, well, I don't think that they would appreciate it if I did this project because it really doesn't speak to what we are. I truly, want to keep doing what I'm doing now. So, but put me on a spaceship and I'll be there. I mean, number one, every phone call. Let's do it. And if and eventually, like the cool thing is that doing web series and stuff, like next year, if I still haven't been on a spaceship, maybe I'll write a spaceship web series. We have some amazing people like Greg Aronowitz, who made. He worked on the Guild, and he did a lot of the Dragon Age amazing things that you see on the screen. And I don't know, he might have a spaceship. Who wants to come help me make a spaceship? Yay! No money? Oh, okay.
Sorry. Shortest route. I have a question about Dollhouse. I mean, you played such an important role at the beginning of the season 2 and the end of season 2, and it was kind of sad to see it go. And then the comic book came out. Can you talk about how you felt when you saw yourself on the cover of the comic book and how you felt about that show?
Yeah, that was really surprising. The way I got that role was because the other actress got moved to another episode, and the day before shooting, they didn't have anybody. And actually, Sarah and Elizabeth, the two writers on Dollhouse, suggested me to Joss because I had tested for a pilot that they did the year before. And like Joss was like, "Oh yeah," so it was like because they didn't have an actress. So I showed up, and it was the next day that I was supposed to show up and work. And it was such an intense, crazy episode because it was very handheld and like it wasn't with the main cast as much, and it was just an amazing experience. So that role is so much different from what I usually do, and a lot of people are like, well, why are you just playing yourself? I'm like, I just play whatever people give me. And that was an amazing role that really encouraged me to do something like Dragon Age, where it's a lot more dramatic and just a different tonality. And the funny thing is that if you see some of the stuff that I did in the last episode of season 2, that actually was supposed to be the opening of season 2. So I think the initial plan was to have that flash forward take place for the whole season 2. Like that was what the writers wanted to do, and I believe the network said that they didn't want to do that. And that's what I think why the comic went where it was, to be able to bridge that gap. Because I mean, to me as a fan, even if I had not been in the episode, I would have been a fan of that world, because you're talking about technology zombies, and it was an amazing episode. And I think that personally, I would have loved to have seen, not just being a self-centered because I wanted to be in it more, but like those storylines were really cool, and it would have been cool to weave in for season 2. But that was just a network thing that they did, that it would be too confusing because nobody saw Epitaph 1 because it was DVD only. So I don't know. It was a lot of business things that I don't know about, but it's seeing myself on the cover with a gun. Yeah, that was pretty cool. I'm sorry. Okay.
So far the 2 Dragon Age games have been completely different in scope, theme, and pretty much every level. Is the series going to be a little bit more like the first game, the second game, or kind of its own complete thing where it goes in another direction story-wise?
Yeah, I mean, I think there was some, I think more of the mechanics of 2 were different from 1. I mean, I think that the storytelling, in a sense, there was that kind of bookend idea of, so it was a little bit more narratively locked a little bit. But to me, what I love about Dragon Age, and I don't know, how many people have played it? Oh, okay. Who had sex with Meryl? One person? Who had sex with Isabella? No. Who had sex with Fenris? I'm jealous of you. How many people in here didn't have sex with anybody in this game? Who did you have sex with? Anders? Nah. Everybody's being shy now. Come on, guys. All right, whatever. I had sex with anybody I could. So, this is if you haven't played Dragon Age, it's not, you don't have to, but it's the fun part. I mean, it's not just the sex part, it's the romancing. You really do have a relationship with characters. You develop these very deep, they're great cutscenes where you have really quality voice acting and animation, and you really get involved in these characters, and you feel like you've put a party together that you really are connected to. And when you form a relationship, or 2 or 3 like I did, they're really deep-seated. And that was what I really wanted to capture when I wrote the series, being able to put a party together and have that somehow translate that kind of feeling to the screen in the web series. And the cool thing is that my director, Peter Winther, he played the game. Actually, that's why I was like, do you want this job? Because we went to lunch together and we left fantasy novels together. And we worked together on something several years ago, and we are basically communicated about, hey, what's up? What fantasy novels you read? And we just catch up like that. And then we went to our like bi-yearly lunch, and I was like, hey, what have you been doing? He's like, I just finished Dragon Age again. And I was like, would you like to do something with me? So I basically that because he loves the game and he knows the game and he knew the universe. And to me, I'm going to try my very best to do the best thing I can and deliver something that would be faithful to the game. And whatever people's opinions are, at the end of the day, everybody on the team, from production design to special effects to music to direction to all the, everybody was invested in taking this game and doing a very faithful translation versus taking it out of the world and kind of trying to please everybody with it, because that's kind of where video game movies have fallen short. So to me, I did months of research. David Gator was like, you're asking me questions even I don't know about my world, the creator of the game. So to me, that was really, really the important part of it, to translate that. So I would say that taking that part out of it, the character part, and doing, as epic as, biggest fight scenes as we could on the web series budget, that was a goal as well, to be able to have the faithful weapons and doing some moves from the game. But really the core of it was the characters, because I think that's what BioWare does amazingly, is create immersive characters where you want to spend time with them. Next question.
How did you score the IBM Innovate event last month, and was it worth missing a few days of E3?
Wow.
More importantly,
I'd never done. They just
IBM
ran.
employees.
Are you work for them?
Yeah.
Yeah. Were you there?
No, I wasn't there, but I saw it on the website. I was kind of surprised.
Did you hear I was in music?
No.
No? Oh, that's not good. No, I had never done a speaking engagement like that, like presenting. I've actually always turned them down in the past because I was too nervous to do the teleprompter. And then, I made kind of a resolution to just do things that scare me, because I feel like that's the only way you can make yourself grow. And I was like, okay, I'll do this. And of course, I didn't realize it was during E3, which I was like, what? But it was actually a really awesome event because they let me rewrite a lot of the dialogue and add to it. And the writer was already really funny. So we came up with this thing. My brother used to work for IBM, and there was a picture of him half naked, oiled up. And I was like, you post this on your Facebook? Are you kidding? Because he'd been working out a lot and he wanted to show off his six-pack. And I'm like, you're weird, dude. So I would show his picture every single time just to embarrass him with his former colleagues. And they let me do that. So it was actually really fun. And I did actually go to E3, and I spent 12 hours there, and I just cut in the front of the line, and I was a jerk. I was like, I got to see this game. I'm sorry, I'm pulling the Felicia Day card. And I'm sure somebody was probably like, I can't believe Felicia Day just cut in front of me in line. But it was because I couldn't be there all 3 days. It's cool, right? Anyway, so I got to see everything. I got to play everything, and BioShock. I got to see the BioShock trailer and Skyrim. Who's going to play that? Who's going to take the whole month of November off to play that? Yes. It's going to be pretty amazing. Anyway, yeah, it was totally worth it. It was a good experience. Another question?
Hi. You mentioned guest stars for the Guild Season 5, and I understand Erin Gray is one of the guest stars in it?
Yes, she is, from Buck Rogers, Erin Gray. So yes, she's amazing, and I wrote a part for her. I also wrote a part for Marissa Tancherone from Dr. Horrible. She was one of the co-writers, and she also was one of the groupies. We sing the weird stuff, we do the weird stuff. If you're familiar with that, and I wrote her that part, and I can't say what it is, but it's some pretty epically funny stuff. So, yeah, there's some and I'm not going to talk about any of the other ones. We're going to announce a couple people, including them, at the panel on Saturday, and then I'm going to keep it under wraps because I don't want to ruin my surprises. But suffice it to say, you're going to see some really cool, familiar faces. Another question over here. I'm not looking over there as much. I'm sorry, guys.
It's okay. Hi. I know there was a Guild comic book that was very cool. And I was wondering if there was going to be any more, or if you would go into writing other kinds of comics at all.
Yeah, there's a Guild graphic novel, which is 3 issues that are compiled, which is basically Codex's journey into the game. So if I consider it, kind of a primer to. Also, if you know somebody who doesn't play MMOs, it's kind of a cool, she's a complete novice, and it's her journey of getting into the game. And I've been writing 5 other standalone issues for each of the other characters. So I wrote Vork with Jeff Lewis, the guy who plays Vork, and then I wrote Tink by myself, which is awesome because that's 7 different artists. So it was really fun. I tried to kind of keep her mysterious, and I used the art to sort of like embellish her life a little bit. And then Blades just came out a couple weeks ago, and I co-wrote that with Sean Becker, the director of the Guild. And then Claire is coming out in September, and then we'll have the Zabu comic at the end of the year. And so I did those, and it was very hard to do that at the same time as doing Dragon Age and Eureka and Guild Season 5. Okay, I need a vacation. But it was really fulfilling. And by the end, comic writing, I don't know if you guys are writers, but the difference between writing a screenplay and a comic book is hugely different because you have to not only think very visually, but you don't have a lot of room to write. So you have to be very brief and truncated in the way you tell stories. And you have the whole world at your disposal, but you don't have a lot of room for dialogue, which is kind of the opposite of what I do in this Guild. So it was a bad learning curve, but at the end, I'm really happy with what came out with it. And in the future, I would definitely be interested in doing more comic books. I love to create my own characters, so it could be another original. It could be more Guild, but I won't know for a couple months after. I'm just kind of letting everything settle. But definitely having worked so hard to learn the comic book format, I could definitely be better at it, and that would be required doing more of it. So. So did it help you, like? Yeah. So now, having read the comic, you might understand a little bit more. Well, that's cool. Thank you for saying that. Anybody else? I know you already had a question, but.
Hi.
Hi.
I was wondering.
Are you wearing a suit? Are you hot?
I have been. It's nicer in here.
Yeah.
But the sun has been not kind.
Concern for you.
It's cosplay. I gotta do it.
Okay.
I was wondering how you start off with a web series when you don't know where the money's coming from, you don't know how the budget's going to go, because it is so much work and you have to get so many people together. How do you kick off and how do you get those things moving?
Yeah, I mean, it's all about scope. As far, I would definitely recommend watching YouTube, because there are people on YouTube who have just them and a camera, and they have millions more views than the Guild, really, because they have a huge following and they have a voice that is attractive as a personality to people, or they do little sketches. It's not easy to do what they do, but it requires a lot of creativity, but not a lot of crew. And the Guild, the season 1, it didn't have a huge crew. And I would say, if you have a story you want to tell, definitely write it and make it so that it's doable with the things that are at your disposal. Like you know somebody with a cafe, you could shoot him for free. Write a cafe scene, don't write, a car chase or like a grocery store, because those are things that are going to be too expensive. So write to your scope, and at the same time, just, build a community. Like wherever you live, there are going to be other people who want to get into filmmaking, and volunteer for other people's sets and get to know people and do them favors, and then they'll do you favors when your time goes. It's about creating a community of people, and that's what we put together. The LA has a very good web community, so being part of that community means like maybe working for free for them for a couple months and just kind of freelancing. But you'll learn more being on the set than any book that will ever teach you anything, or going to film school, really, I believe. Just being on a set, you realize how hard it is and what it goes. I mean, Dragon Age, 100 people were on set, and you don't really appreciate that until you're like, well, we have to have it in order to make it look like it. You don't have to have that for a web series, but you just have to think about, the doability of it at the end of the day. Any other questions? Should I do a tap dance? No. The last time I tapped was when I was 14, and I was a really good tapper, I have to say. I should take lessons again. Who wants to go with me? We have a question right here.
What was it like for you the first time somebody walked up to you randomly off the street and said, "Can I have your autograph?"
Wow. There's very few people who ask for my autograph. Most of the time, they're just like, "I really like what you do," which is the biggest compliment. Because I have friends who are a lot more, famous than me, like well known, and that kind of fame is not something to envy. Like honestly, because you're always feeling like people are watching you wherever you go, and it's not something to envy as much. What's cool about what I do is that people. Like security wanted to escort me like from the panel down on his boot. I was like, dude, they're gonna just high five me. They're not gonna be like, whoa, what's going on? And I know that probably happens to a lot of people, but that's not the kind of, community that's around me and what I do per se. And I am so grateful for that because, being able to share with you guys and on a tweet by tweet basis or a blog by blog basis, like you guys understand how the journey that we've been on. Some of you have probably been on my set. Like anybody been an extra here or yeah. They're awesome. You guys have participated in this show and you've seen it and you and I've shared it with you. And every time you share it with somebody else, you've made the show what it is, like every single click. So like that kind of spirit to me is so much more at the end of the day going to be more gratifying as looking back on life's work. And that's what's beautiful about the internet. You can bring people together to do events and create community like that. And I just, I would hate for it to all be co-opted into just, the same old way of making movies and TV. So that's what I guess I'm gratified about. I mean, it is awesome to have people, say, hey, I wrote this book because you do what you do on the web. Like that happened to me last year where a guy gave me a book and she had dedicated it to me, his wife. And she was too shy to come up and say hi. But like she had dedicated the book to me because she had waited 15 years to write a book, and then she decided to just do it on her own and self-publish, and it was a beautiful book. And she made it, and it was like one of the most touching things that's ever happened to me because of what I do, she has given birth to something creative for the world, and it's a beautiful thing. Thank you for being one of us. Oh, thank you so much for saying that. I appreciate that. Bushing. Anybody else have a question? Two more. Let's do two more. I like you. I like you. Now, is there going to be a fight? Oh, no.
Some silly question. Can you tell us about the funniest cat video you've seen recently?
Oh my gosh. Did you see what was going on today, though? Because they just released the Lion operating system for Apple. And then there's a little GIF going around of Maru. Does anybody know Maru? Everybody should know Maru. M-A-R-U. It's the best. It's a cat in Japan. She's priceless. And she does things like try to get herself stuck in small containers. And she's a fluffy, large cat. I could sit here for 4 hours and show you Maru videos. Let's do that next year. We'll have a Maru, I will do that. I'm already penciled in, okay? Thursday night, next year. Maru hour. There's a really cute kitten DJ thing. It was actually an advertisement, but the kid, I could go on. This could go on forever. If anybody are you on Google Plus, people post animated GIFs of cats all day long. And I think, okay, let me just say this publicly. I know some of them are hipster irony San Francisco people who do it because they think they're wink wink. Isn't it funny? And these guys are resharing a cat video. I'll share it, and I do it with genuine love. There's no hipster irony when I share a cat GIF, okay? It is genuine love and feeling. So take your cynicism and get your paws off my cat GIFs. I'm really excited about this Maru hour. I am 100% in. Okay, one more question. Anybody have anything great? That was setting the bar high, wasn't it? Okay, right here.
Saying it wrong. Okay, there. I said this to you last year at your booth signing, but I just want to say thank you for being a great female nerd role model because there's very few of those that we can really point to.
Oh, thank you so much for saying that. Thank you.
My question kind of goes from that. I consider myself a nerd, but sometimes at events like this, I feel kind of like I have to prove I'm a nerd. Maybe more than other people, like, oh no, I know this much about Lord of the Rings versus somebody else. But whenever I, look at stuff that you do, you seem really confident in, the type of nerd you are. How do you gain that confidence in just being, I don't know everything, but I'm willing to be, on the guild and just do what I do and have fun with it?
Yeah, that's a really good question because I think a lot of us, being in the geek community and nerd community, like there are a lot of experts and things, and I am not an expert in a lot. Like I would say that, and I was actually having a conversation last night with a friend of mine because of that, the history, the girl who was Miss America who said she was a history geek, and then everybody just was like, she's not a geek, blah, and there was this crazy outcry. And like, to me, I don't really call attention to being a girl and a geek. I'm just whoever I am, and I just happen to be a girl, and I think that's kind of important because I think kind of labeling yourself as the girl geek, that's cool for whoever wants to do that, but I'm just like, you love what you love, and that's who you are. And to me, that whole outcry was like so weird, but I think it goes down to the semantics of the word geek. Like geek and nerd are becoming more of a more collectively owned by the world. So like geek, when we were kids, maybe you were a geek, you were an outcast and insulted and all these things. And now it becomes almost a badge of pride, and people are resenting people using that in a more lighter sense. And so there's an interesting kind of community thing that's going on, and I don't have any particular insight into it. But I could say that I love Star Wars, but I can't tell you a lot of details, like, in Episode 2 or Empire Strikes Back and this and this and this. And then somebody might be like, well, you don't really know Star Wars. And I'm like, I know that I like the movies. And I might, so like, it's a question of just being proud of what you do. And I think, in venues like this, you just have to own what you love and be willing to learn from other people and share in the joy of it, even if you don't know it like 8 feet deep, and be proud of it. Like, I'm a romance novel nerd, okay? I will read anything with a corset on the front. It is trash, and I love it. Like, that's the kind of geek I am. If it's got a vampire in the front, I'll probably read it twice. And if it has really naughty bits, I'll read it many times. I mean, there's a lot of stuff you just have to be proud of who you are, and like know that there are other people out there who will embrace it. And if somebody's going to disdain you for saying that you love something but you don't know it A to Z, there are plenty of other people to hang out with, I think. But cool. Anyway, so thank you very much, you guys. I really appreciate it.
I just really quick before you're done, I'm going to come up here. You stay here. Don't move.
Okay, what am I doing?
I'm going to dawdle on you for just 1 second. Dawdle? That's not even a word. I mean, it is a word, but it's not correct. Felicia Day. Let me just say something about you real quick. And you were talking about it a little bit before. I love how much that you own who you are. Like, just addressing the question just right now. I love it so much. And I got to meet Felicia. We were doing a con. We were doing Star Fury in England. And it was like pissing down rain, cats and dogs for 3 days. We had such an amazing time with all these fans that were in Birmingham, actually. That's where we were. And it was you and me, and Summer Glau was out there.
Mark Shepard.
Mark Shepard was there, and Adam Baldwin. And we just had an incredible time. And I remember walking away from that going, that chick is awesome. She is awesome sauce. Like, and when you get to meet people that are like kindred spirits and that really own who they are, and by owning who you are, you also allow other people to be who they are. You allow those other people. And when people talk to you about like you were just talking about, oh, you're not nerdy enough about this or that or whatever, forget that. You can be a nerd about whatever you're nerdy about. I'm a nerd about technology and video games, and I like sports, and I like cars, and I like other things, but I don't know. Look, I love the Dodgers. I couldn't tell you what they pitched last night. I can't do it.
How dare you?
I know, right? I'm such a horrible person. Yeah. But that's the thing. You can be a Dodger nerd, and you can be all over the stats, and you can be all over that stuff. But it doesn't mean somebody else can't appreciate it and not be into it to that extent. So be nerdy about whatever you want to be nerdy about. Own you. Or be about it. And if people are going to give you crap about it, then you don't need to hang out with those people. Hang out with people that appreciate you for who you are. And that, right? And then the last thing I want to say is this. When it goes to where we're at with entertainment and what you've accomplished so much. You have blazed the trail. I really mean this. Blush away. I think you guys are going to realize in the next couple years, 5 years, 10 years, the way the model is going and the way that television and film are drastically changing. I think people are going to look back and they're going to say, you know who was so ahead of that curve? You know who was giving us a new model and a new way that we could consume what we want and we can support what we want? It's Felicia Day when she did the Guild. So to that, I say thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much.
Felicia Day, everybody. Thank you so much. Thank you guys so much for being at the Nerd HQ tonight. There's more panels for the next 3 days. I hope you guys are coming to those. There's still some tickets available for Zach Quinto and Seth Green and Scott Bakula, my dad. If anybody, if anybody wants it, buy them up. It's all for charity. It's all for kids. It's all for goodness. So thank you guys so much. We really, really appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your time in San Diego and at the Nerd HQ. Bye.